Hey YouTube, I'm here. I've been talking about doing this for so long and I'm finally sitting down and filming a video. I've been talking about starting YouTube for forever. But I think this is it. I think I'm gonna just jump into the deep end. Um, my name is Sonia and I thought my first video should be about commonly asked questions about being a flight attendant. A little bit about me. I'm a flight attendant for a very popular US based airline and gets the same questions asked over and over and over again. So I thought I would sit down and for my first video, I will answer them. So here we go. I'm looking down at my iPad because I have the questions typed out there. Number one, how long have I been a flight attendant? I have been a flight attendant for almost 11 years. My anniversary is coming up next month. So yeah, so 11 years. This is my second airline. I never ever dreamed about being a flight attendant. The thought never ever occurred to me. It kind of happened by accident. I studied political science in college. I thought I wanted to go into politics, and then I thought I wanted to go into international politics, and then I thought I wanted to work for an NGO or anyway. Yeah, so it never occurred to me. And then I went to grad school, and while I was in grad school, I had a friend that was a flight attendant, and she encouraged me to go ahead and just try it. She thought that I'd love it, and she thought that yeah, she said her exact words were, try it. You might like it. If you don't like it, you could always quit. Like that's a good point. You're absolutely right. So at that time, the airlines were hiring a lot, and there were several what they call information sessions where they would gather a whole bunch of applicants in a hotel conference room. And yeah, so I went to a couple information sessions. I got hired or I got offers to come to training from 2 airlines, and here I am 11 years later. Like I said, never ever thought about doing this ever. Number 2, have I always wanted to be a flight attendant? I just answered that. No, I've not always wanted to be a flight attendant. Thought never occurred to me. But in hindsight, I kind of wish that I was introduced to it a little bit earlier, because I gotta say that I honestly love it. Number 3, is this your normal route? I usually get asked that question when I'm on the airplane, and we don't talk routes. They're unless you're really a senior flight attendant, most flight attendants don't have a normal schedule. We bid on a schedule every single month, and we can be anywhere on any given day. So yeah, unless you're super duper senior and you can get, you're pretty much your choice of schedules each month, the rest of us, we just have to take whatever we can get. And we try to, we can trade stuff with other flight attendants, but no, there's no such thing as a normal route. I could be on the West Coast one night, on the East Coast the next night, down south the night after that. I mean, we're literally all over the place. Number 4, I usually get asked about shifts ending. Like, is this the end of your shift? Again, we don't really talk we don't talk in those terms as flight attendants. We talk about trips, and a trip can be anywhere from a single day 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, at least at my airline. At other airlines, they could be much longer. So we have trips that are anyway from 1-day trips to 4-day trips. And like I said, we could be anywhere on any given night. So we don't really talk in shifts, we talk about trips. So it's more like, what day is this for you? Is this day 1? Is this day 2, day 3, day 4, etc. And then also in those trips, in those days, we could have anywhere from 1 flight a day up to 6 flights a day. I have worked 6 flights. It's not fun. I don't do it often. But yeah, so then also we talk more in terms of, well, what leg is this for you? Is this your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth leg in that day? So that's flight attendant talk. Or I should say flight crew talk, because pilots talk like that too. Number 5, does the airline pay for the hotel you're staying in on an overnight? The answer to that is yes. If we are on an official trip, the airline, yes, does pay for our hotels. And no, we do not share hotels, so I do not have to share a hotel room with another flight attendant. We each get our own room. The airline usually has an agreement with the hotel chain in whatever city, and they usually block off a bunch of rooms for any given night at that hotel. And sometimes they have several hotels, depending on how large of a destination that layover is for us. So I think in, say, like a place like Dallas, I think my airline has something like 10 hotels that they work with. Another smaller location, say, I don't know, like Boise, Idaho or something, the airline may only have like maybe 1, 2, probably tops hotels that they work with in a station like that. So yeah, the airline does pay for our hotels if we are officially on a trip. However, if you are a commuting flight attendant, and when I say commuting, I mean that if you live in one city but you're based in a different city and you have to fly to that city, say the night before, or spend the night at the end of your trip before you go home, then in that case, the airline does not pay for your hotel. And I'll get more into depth about that in, I think, the next question. So, next question is number 6. How is it that you live in blank but work from blank? So, I live in Atlanta, and I at one point commuted to Milwaukee for a year or two, and then another point I commuted to Chicago for several years. The whole time I've lived in Atlanta. So the answer to that is, it's just like you don't live at your office. You don't live in your office, so you have to get in your car and drive to work. Well, just like you get in your car and drive to work, flight crews, we get in our car, drive to the airport, then get on a plane and fly to work. So like I said, I commuted to Chicago from Atlanta for many years. And in that case, I had what is called a crash pad. And basically what a crash pad is just basically like a dorm room for flight crews. So yeah, my crash pad was basically a house that another flight attendant owned, and she had bunk beds set up in every room of the house. There were probably in the house was 3 levels, including the basement. So there was probably like 20 beds or something like that in the house. And so I rented one bed in one of the rooms in that house, and that was my bed. Nobody else could use that bed. and each flight attendant, my crash pad happened to be for all girls. Some crash pads can be co-ed, but each girl in the crash pad had her own bed. So yeah, some people don't like the crash pad life. Some people feel like they're too old for it, or too this or too that or whatever. So some people will prefer to get hotels in their base. So the hotel chains that typically have a relationship with the airline will offer flight crew discounts for hotel rooms. So I think the going rate for a hotel room in Chicago was probably about $80 a night or something like that. So some people prefer to do that. Some people don't even do that. Some people will, if they are flying early in the morning, if they're starting a trip early in the morning, they may prefer to fly up to their base on the last flight out of whatever city they live in, and prefer to sleep in the crew lounge. That wasn't my thing. I prefer to get a good night's sleep, but some people can survive on very little sleep. Some people just prefer to do that and save some money. I have slept in the crew room if I happen to finish a trip really late at night and I plan on getting on the first flight home in the morning, and I only have a couple hours on the ground. Then even though I had a crash pad and I paid for a bed and everything, I would just prefer to just stay in the crew room, just to make sure that I would get up and make it for that first flight home, because I'm not trying to spend too much time away from home. So yeah, that's how we do it. Number 7, do you fly for free? We fly for free. That is the perk to working for an airline. But what they don't tell you when you sign up to become a flight attendant is that you fly. Well, they do tell you this, but they don't tell you really how it is. You fly what's called standby, which means that you're waiting for a seat to become available on any given flight. So if a flight is sold out and there are no seats, of course the airline gives the seats to paying passengers first. So if there happen to be open seats on the plane, and then you can get on that flight. But if all of the flights are full, then you have to sit and wait. And you have to sit and wait, and you have to sit and wait. You have to sit and wait some more until there becomes a seat available. So it's sometimes, depending on the destination and depending on the time of year, it can be really difficult to get on a flight. I'll tell you a story about flying standby. So I took my little boy and my stepmom to Paris one year. And we showed up for the first flight in the morning back to Atlanta, which was I think 6 o'clock in the morning. And I thought that flight was wide open. But what I did not know was that airline had co-chair partners, and so basically the flight wasn't open. Short story, the moral to the story is that I ended up having to spend the night in Paris. We showed up at 6 a.m. for a flight, didn't make it on that flight. At one point, I was able to get my son and my stepmother on a flight to Newark, New Jersey. There were only 2 seats left. We needed 3. There were only 2 seats left. So I figured, let me put them on a plane, and because I'm kind of, I know what I'm doing when it comes to non-revving. So I was like, let me get them out of here first, and then I'll deal with it. I ended up spending that night in Charles de Gaulle. in the airport. And I swear that I would still be there to this day if I didn't call my fiance and say, you better get me a positive space seat, because he flies this airline a lot. So he has lots of frequent flyer miles with them. So I was like, if you ever want to see me again back at home, you need to get me a seat home. So that was the only way, I swear, that I'm actually sitting here right now talking to you, because I swear I'd still be sitting in Charles de Gaulle trying to make it home. So yeah, so I got on the next flight at 6 a.m. with a positive space seat. Anyway, it was horrible. It was fun. Paris was fun, but that experience was horrible. And that is a very common thing in the airline business. Okay, next question. What is your favorite place to lay over? And you know what? Honestly, I don't really have an answer to that question. I think it depends on the season. It depends on the reason. Depends on a lot of things. One of my favorite places is, I love Portland, Maine. That is a super fun town. If you're ever up in Maine, go check out Peaks Island if it's good weather, if it's the summertime. Of course, I love New York, which is where I'm originally from, and my whole family still lives there. So I love going to New York. I love Southern California, obviously, because of the weather. I mean, can't go wrong with Southern California. Anyway, there's so many different reasons for so many different layovers. And honestly, a layover is a layover to me. I've been flying now, like I said, for 11 years. And so yeah, to me, it's almost all the same. Next question. Number 9, what is the craziest thing that has ever happened to you on a plane? I get asked this question a lot, like when I'm at parties and people find out that I'm a flight attendant. And usually in that case, I cannot produce a story on the spot. It's weird. It's like the weirdest thing. And right now I can't think of an answer to the craziest thing that's ever happened. Oh, okay, I got one story for you. I was working one night. And somebody rings a flight attendant call button, and basically the passenger complains that she woke up to a stranger sitting next to her who was not sitting there when we left. And that stranger's hand was on her private parts. That was definitely strange. So we were not far from landing, and we had to call the captain to let him know. The captain had to call ahead, have the authorities meet the airplane, had to be interviewed by the FBI the next morning. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. So that would be my answer to that. And then my last question, number 10, it's more of a statement. I think it's more of a statement veiled as a question. But number 10, I always thought about becoming a flight attendant. Am I too old? Am I too tall? Am I too short? Am I too whatever? I hear that a lot on the airplane. And my answer to that is just do it. Just do it. Let the airline tell you that you're too whatever for the job, but you'd be surprised. Like I always tell older people, the airlines love to hire older people because, I mean, if you think about it, you're usually way more responsible than a young person. You're never going to what we call top out in the airline business. Topping out means you reach the top of the pay scale, which usually takes, it's different for every airline, but it usually takes over 10 years to get there. Flying is a business flying is a second career for a lot of older people. Do people think that they may be too big because they hear about the old days of flying when the airlines used to like weigh you, and you know there were really strict standards to being a flight attendant in terms of your appearance. Yeah, they, at least American-based airlines, don't do that anymore. I always say just try it. Apply. If you hear that an airline is hiring, go ahead and submit your application. Let them be the ones to tell you that, you know, that they're not interested, but don't count yourself out before you actually try. I will say that flight attendant training is not a lot of fun. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of information shoved into your head in a very short time frame. A lot of stuff is brand new to you. So you can't even, unless you're going from one airline to another, if you're brand new to the business, it's brand new information, stuff that you never knew before, and you're getting tested on it regularly. And they don't allow you can only get maybe 1 or 2 questions wrong on the test. If you get more, some airlines might let you retake the test, but yeah, there's not a lot of room for error. So it's not fun. It's a lot of pressure. But if you can pass it, it's a really great career. Like, I love it. I love it. My only regret is, why didn't I start doing this sooner? Because then I'd be at the top of the pay chain with a lot more seniority and my pick of the best trips and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I encourage anyone who's thinking about becoming a flight attendant to at least try it. Now, having said that, keep in mind that it's not a very quick process. You might apply to an airline and not hear from them for 6 months, a year. It's not a quick process. So you kind of just have to be ready. You just have to kind of be ready for when the call comes. It can be a very volatile business, especially in this stage. They're airline mergers all the time. So it can be very volatile, but it actually can be really, really rewarding. I always say it's like the easiest job in the world. It's so easy. It's so easy and it's so much fun. So if you enjoy traveling, if you enjoy meeting different people, if you are flexible, if you don't need a rigid schedule and you don't really care where you end up at any given night, then go ahead and try it. I mean, it really is a great career. I love it. So that is the end of this video. I came up with 10 questions, but if you have any other questions that I did not touch on, or if you want me to go into more detail about anything that I said in this video, go ahead and comment down below. You can look me up on social media. On Instagram, I am Sonia R. On Twitter, I am Sonia R or Miss Sonia R. I honestly don't remember because I'm not on Twitter that often. But yeah, look me up on social media. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment below or hit me up on social media, and I will try to answer them. If I get enough questions about what I just mentioned or stuff that I haven't covered on, I will make a whole separate video. Anyway, and let me know if you have any other video suggestions about flying or whatever, about makeup. Like, I love makeup. So let me know if you have any questions or any recommendations about what you'd like to see on YouTube. Anyhow, thanks for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And if you like this video, go ahead and like it. And if you want to see me again, go ahead and subscribe. I do plan to upload regularly. I do plan to upload videos about my trips. Like I go on reserve tomorrow morning, so I'll definitely be flying somewhere this weekend. I'm not sure where. So I'll be coming to you from the road. So go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.